Okay, imagine this. You're on a plane, ready to go, and the pilot comes on the intercom and says, "Hey folks, just letting you know, I scored a 90% on my last landing simulation."
Huh. Yeah, what's your first thought?
Probably, where's the emergency exit, right? It's
Yeah.
just unsettling.
Exactly. And that immediate gut reaction, that discomfort, it really highlights what we're diving into today.
Yeah, this whole idea of proficiency. Like, when is good enough actually good enough? Because sometimes 90% just doesn't feel right.
It really doesn't. It brings up this fundamental question about competence versus just, passing a test. When does that mark actually mean you can do the job?
Totally. We've been looking at Steve Rosenbaum's book, Up to Speed, and wow, it's got some great examples that make you think twice about test
Yeah,
scores.
it really does.
So if you've ever wondered, like, why things still go sideways sometimes, even when people are technically qualified, or how we really know if someone's mastered something, well, stick around.
Yeah, we're going beyond just the percentages today to unpack what real proficiency looks like.
That pilot example is so potent because the stakes are obviously sky high, pardon the pun.
Right. And it's not just pilots. Think about your pharmacist. You expect 100% accuracy there, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. A 1% error rate dispensing medicine, that could be catastrophic.
Precisely. We just intuitively get that in certain jobs, there's basically zero room for error.
The book also mentions Rosenbaum's time at a resin factory. Huge vats of chemicals,
Yeah.
and getting the mix or the sequence wrong, apparently you could, like, burn the whole plant down.
Wow. Okay, so another high-stakes situation where precision is absolutely non-negotiable, it really drives home that almost right isn't an option sometimes.
So perfect isn't just desirable, it's essential in those cases.
Which then makes you wonder, okay, what about jobs that seem
Hmm.
maybe less immediately critical?
Like,
Well, the book talks about call centers. And this might surprise you. Often the pass rate for training is around 75%.
75%. Wait, really? That's like a C minus.
Yep. So think about what that means. If someone's considered proficient at 75%,
It means maybe a quarter of what they should know, they don't or can't remember reliably.
that's the implication.
Yeah.
They might have gaps in their knowledge, inaccuracies, which could explain a lot.
Okay, now I'm thinking about some customer service calls I've had.
Exactly. And the book points out the workaround, right? Scripts, procedures, lots of structure.
Ah, so that's why you can call back with the same problem and get a totally different experience or have to explain everything all over again.
It often comes down to that. They're following the script, but the deep understanding might not be there consistently because of that, well, relatively low bar for passing.
It's kind of like, those four-way stop intersections where nobody seems quite sure what to do.
Yeah. The awkward little dance.
Well, the book uses that analogy. Everyone there passed their driving test, right? Probably with a similar 75% score.
Oh, that's a great point.
And yet you see all this hesitation, the uncertainty, maybe those knowledge gaps or just not applying the rules consistently show up right there in real time.
That makes so much sense. Technically, everyone knows the rule of right-of-way, but the confidence, the consistent application, it varies a lot. Just like that 75% suggests it might.
Which then makes the whole self-driving car thing kind of funny, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, the book touches on it. One of the big challenges for autonomous vehicles is us, human drivers. We don't always follow the rules, even though we pass the test.
Huh. Right. We're unpredictable.
So are these super smart cars going to be able to handle someone deciding to, interpret a stop sign creatively?
It's a fair question. And it loops back to the limitations of how we even test knowledge in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
especially with things like multiple choice tests.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about those. They're everywhere. But they have issues, right? Like those distractor answers.
Exactly. Some answers are obviously wrong, but then you get a couple that are really close.
And if you're good at taking tests, you can often make a pretty good guess, maybe 50-50, even if you don't fully grasp the concept.
Right. Test-taking skill versus actual knowledge. Plus, you can have questions that are just worded badly or are ambiguous.
Uh-huh. Leading you to the wrong answer, even if you kind of knew the stuff.
It happens. The format itself isn't perfect for assessing deep understanding.
So why use them?
Well, the big advantage, let's be honest, is they're easy to score. Especially for, like, huge groups of people. It's logistics.
Okay, practical. But
But the real world isn't multiple choice, is it? Like the book says, a customer doesn't give you 4 options when they need help. They need the right answer, period.
That really hits on a key difference, doesn't it? Knowing something in your head versus actually doing something with that knowledge.
Absolutely. Recalling information is one thing. Articulating it clearly, explaining it to someone, especially under pressure, that's a whole different skill.
Yeah, like actually saying the words. The book really emphasizes practicing rehearsing.
Verbal fluency, yeah.
Yeah.
Saying it out loud, repeating it. That builds the confidence and the ability to deliver, which is crucial in so many roles.
And that's something a written test just can't measure effectively.
Not really,
Hmm.
which connects to, the whole idea of the forgetting curve.
Right, if you learn something but don't use it.
You forget it. Or at least it gets harder to recall quickly and accurately. Retention is strongest when you're actively applying the knowledge.
So if there's a gap between training and actually doing the job.
A lot can fade, which brings us back to our pilot. Even with tons of training, memory isn't foolproof for critical sequences like landing.
So that's where checklists come in.
Exactly. Checklists are the backup. They ensure 100% accuracy every time because you can't rely solely on memory when the stakes are that high. It's a system to guarantee performance.
Okay, so if standard tests have these blind spots and memory fades, what's a better way to know if someone's truly proficient, especially when you need that 100%?
Well, Rosenbaum makes a strong case for evaluation through observation by an expert.
Someone who actually knows what good looks like in that specific job.
Precisely. Someone who can watch how a person works and see the difference between just, getting by and real mastery.
And those differences become obvious when you watch.
Very much so, according to the book. He gives examples, like a top travel agent. You see it in how smoothly they talk to clients, how quickly they navigate the booking screens, how confident their recommendations are.
It's not just what they know, but how they apply it.
Exactly. Or a skilled machine operator. You see it in how organized they are. If they automatically use their safety gear, how quickly they spot and react if something's slightly off.
It's in the actions, the habits, not just the answers on a form.
Right. When you observe someone actually doing the work, especially complex or high-stakes work, the difference between someone who just passed and someone who's truly proficient is often, well, pretty stark. You see the mastery in action.
So wrapping this up then, the big takeaway seems to be passing a test isn't the same as being truly proficient. That percentage score, it doesn't tell the whole story.
Not at all. And that idea of good enough, it really depends on the context. What are the consequences if things go wrong?
Yeah. And for you listening, it's maybe worth thinking critically about how we measure skills, both for others and even for ourselves. Are we sometimes fooled by a simple score?
It's a good point. We need to be aware when just passing might not cut it, when that deeper competence is what's truly needed.
Makes you think about your own work or life, right? Where is just passing not okay? Where is real mastery essential? And what does that mastery actually look like in practice?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If we rely so heavily on these percentage tests everywhere, are we kind of accidentally creating systems where almost right becomes the accepted norm, even when it really shouldn't be?
Ooh, that's a heavy one.
What would things look like if we focused more on demonstrating mastery, on observation, on actual application, instead of just the score? Something
Yeah.
to chew on.